Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis and you are watching Season 3 of Conversations in Pop Culture, brought to you by my sponsors, Mix'em Printing, the smarter way to print. I know printing your creative projects can be confusing and stressful, but Mix'em is here to make it easy. From their instant quote calculator to let you get as many quotes as you want for free, to their 24-hour customer service support, Mix'em is here to make sure your printing experience runs smoothly from start to finish. And right now you can choose from a range of premium printing options and materials. And the company has also printed so many successful Kickstarter campaigns, a bunch of them you have even heard about on this very show. And they offer services in the United States, Canada, Australia, and the UK, and Mix'em can print and reach your audience anywhere in the world. So if you're ready to print smarter, not harder, head over to Mix'em.com. And right now, listeners of this show can drop my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of a current order. You get a 5% discount on their first order. So that is mixam.com. Again, type my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of your current order to receive a 5% discount on your first order. Furthermore, I am also sponsored by BCW Supplies. Use code POPANIMECOMICS at checkout to get 10% off your entire order. Bags and boards are expensive. Long boxes are expensive. And when you are making big purchase orders at $200, $300, 10% off does add up. And of course, I right now have my Kickstarter going on. You can get any reward from $6 to $500, and you're supporting this show. You could be a guest on the show. You can get a live read. You can get a postcard. There's sick metal card, which I really want to produce, so please buy it because I really want to produce it. It's with my friend DJ Croft, who's an amazing cosplayer. So check that thing out right there. It's in the description up above or down below. And finally, without further ado, I have with me comic creator, publisher, Jim Noble. So welcome to the show.
Hello.
Yeah, I know. 2 minutes. 2 minutes, guys. I am fast with all my sponsors and all my corporate sponsors and my self-sponsoring righteousness. And I do want to talk about Totally Rad Comics for the holidays, PKN 69. I wonder what the 69 stands for. And that campaign, as you got a lot of stuff going on, I got a lot of pictures to show. But before we get into all that, I am curious, for those who don't know, what is Totally Rad Comics? Because it is something that I think some people know in my audience and some people don't.
Well, so Totally Rad Comics, it's sexy ladies in the 1980s, from everything from, topless clowns to sexy recovering drug addicts to sexy cat girls. You name it, I got it. You want it, I can give it to you. We're an adult comic book company. And we've been around for going on 3 years now, and we love making fun, totally rad 80s based stories.
So I got a lot of questions, and then I promise we're going to get into the Kickstarter, but I love adult comic companies. I'm obviously a huge Zenescope fan, and I love their Z-rated and nude cover books. And I am curious, though, how did you get into comics and even building out this company? Because it is brand new. And it is something different where most comic companies are not aimed at adults. This is obviously an adult comic company. There is nothing, meant for anybody under the age of 18 in your company. No offense. What's on the cover is in the book, more or less. So what was the entire impetus for that? Because it is a very different market.
So for 5 years, I was a professional comic book grader at CBCS, and I saw a lot of indie books come in and that people submitted to get graded. And like going through some of the books, I was kind of like, well, these guys are doing a lot of, like there's some books that I saw that had nude covers, but on the inside there was no nudity. I'm like, well, this is kind of a ripoff. Like, I'd want my money's worth. If I'm spending $100 on a nude cover and there's nothing on the interiors, I'd be pretty upset. So I was like, well, why not do a book that has nude covers and nude interiors and hire those same artists that are doing these covers? And, slowly but surely we started out in June of 2019, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting because obviously in my world, for somebody who sells comics, I actually don't like selling nude books because to me, and this is just my experience, eBay is very tough on that. eBay makes it difficult, and it's also a lot more capital for a lot more risk. And so I'm very much, when Zenescope, and I use them because I sell a lot of their books, I prefer not to pick up a nude book because the path is, while the reward might be greater, the risk is also greater. And I know people who their entire books, and they put out 50 new books, gets taken down. They put a censor bar over it. And so I just think it's very, very interesting, because I'm not against nude books and people buying them and me buying them for my personal collection. I just don't want to sell it because it makes life complicated for me. And also, I have a store and I don't want to put my store at risk. So that's so interesting. And then also, you know, one of the things is that if you're a professional, or were a professional comic book grader, obviously that's a whole nother sector. And I don't have a problem with CBCS at all. I like CBCS. I like CGC. I don't really think there's much of a difference. And I think it's all just semantics, who's grading your books in a lot of ways. And I have a Saga one signed by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples that CBCS verified. So that's why I like CBCS a lot right now. And I'm waiting on my Canto one to come back, signed by David Bucher and Drew Zuck. So I like that. But you know, obviously you send books nicely. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And so I was just very curious about that. And so that is awesome. And then obviously, though, I don't want to go through your entire history, but I do want to mention a few things where you have obviously Neon Next Victim, Kitty Banger, Totally Rad Life of Violet, Roxy Feelgood, Totally Rad Monsters, Camp Retro Rad Dog. And those are just some of the books you have in the entire line. And obviously you're always adding more. And so to even go further into that, you're building out a universe of totally rad books, and everything is now starting to sort of fit into each other. And certain things fit easier into other things, like Roxy Feelgood really fits into Totally Rad Life of Violet. And Kitty is in there as well, very much. And then obviously Totally, you know, Rad Monsters, it's sort of getting into it a little bit. And then Camp Retro Rad Dog is something that is its own entity, for lack of a better word, of what's going on with everything. So what is that like? Because I think that's something that people might not pick up on so easily.
To do all the characters and all the universe, or?
Yeah, even to build out the universe, because at this stage now, going into year 3, you're really building out where things are now connecting very nicely, and they're starting to. And that's something that is very interesting, because a lot of companies are now doing that. Outside of Marvel and DC, it's very much that I feel comics are becoming a bigger world within companies at this point. So what is that like to be doing that so early on?
I think it's pretty fun, especially when, so like some of my earlier stuff, like Totally Rad Life, when I came out with Totally Rad Life of Violet #3, which was the summer of 2020, there was reference to a character that I hadn't even released a book for, that wasn't released until a few months after that book had come out. So like, it's a scene in a psych ward, and there's a small mention of it, and it's kind of like, you know, it's a blink you don't miss it type cameo. And then you find out later on, oh, wait a minute, this is the topless cave woman that was mentioned in Rad Life of Violet 3 that later got her own book. And it's fun. It's fun not having to put each character in a separate universe. I can connect them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, because I like that. And obviously when I pick up books and I'm interested in reading things, I want a bigger world at this point. And I'm very much interested in when you're doing one book that connects to another book, because I want to come into a company and then I want an infinite amount of things to read with that company. And that's my biggest problem with indie right now, is that it's so slow. And that my problem is that I need things, and this is why I'm still very much with big companies at this point, is because it's the idea that I know every month they're going to get me a book. And so if I get 12 books from, you know, Marvel, DC, IDW, Dark Horse, and then Image, over the course, I know that I'm going to have my reading fulfilled. And with indie and Kickstarter, that's my problem. So when I come into universes at this point, when there's a lot of content for me to consume, it makes me an easier customer. And also when I know that there's a bigger payout at the end of the day as well, where if I'm reading Totally Rad Life of Violet and then Roxy Feelgood, which is in that world, is connected, and then Kitty Banger has an issue with Violet, now we're starting to build me having more interest. And that's something that I really like. I hate with a lot of indie creators right now, because you're doing 4 series and then there's no connection to something else, and it's, you got to almost rebuild up my trust again.
Right.
So I like that, but I don't want to hash out the entire world of Totally Rad Comics. I want people, if you guys want to go do that, you should just buy every single book. And I may or may not have a solution for that problem through your Kickstarter. And so let's dive into your Kickstarter a little bit, where obviously this is for PNK 69, and then a variety of holiday books, including the Halloween book. I don't know if anyone told you it's January. But all jokes aside, really starting with PNK 69 by Moretto Berlaccio. I'm not going to get the name right.
I just say Berlaccio.
Yeah, I'm not going to get the name right. So what is the and that's sort of the flagship, I think, title for 2022 for you. And
right.
So what is the story and the ideas behind PNK 69, and what is that story dealing with, and what's going on with it? Because it's not just one issue. I think you're sort of written out / run out to issue 5 at this point.
Right. Yeah. So the artist Mario, so he approached me last year, towards the end of last year, with this book. Now, this book had been released in France, which I believe is called Space Amazons in France. And he was talking to me, and he goes, well, I think it would fit really well with your brand to release in America and other places. And he sent me all the pages for it, and I was like, yeah, it fits really well into the Totally Rad world, just the content of the story. And it's 100 pages, and I was like, well, I'm gonna have to break. I don't want to do a 100-page book. I'll break it up to 20 pages per issue, and that's 5 issues right there. And I was like, all right, well, we'll try it out January, see where it goes. And I mean, so far, we're at $19,256, which is a great start. On top of everything else, with the exception of the Halloween story and Pink 69, all the books on the Kickstarter are all stuff that were on our Totally Rad web store. And
we're going to talk about that, I promise. I have all the pictures. This is just going to become a sales entire thing in about like 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, I promise it's going to become like a sales rep. I'm legitimately going to show so many books, everybody.
But yeah, Pink 69. It's a fun book. It's a planet full of gorgeous women who have never seen or experienced a man before, and of course, then a man crash lands on the planet, and fun ensues into the book. But there's a lot of potential there.
So to even go further, because obviously, if the book came out in France, and I don't know how many people actually know this, and last time I checked, the 3 largest comic markets in order are Japan with manga, because manga is much bigger than anything else in Japan and in the world right now. I think France might be the 2nd largest comic market, which is crazy if you think about it. It's sort of not the one you would think, but also their comics are very different. Also, all these French kids got all these stipends in the last 5 years, and they've spent it all on comic books, which for their cultural art allowance, which is fascinating. And it actually is probably a good thing, because it means that industry is healthy, and also the French view comics differently. And then the 3rd is the U.S. market. And so what was that like, taking something that was released in Europe and in France and then bringing it over to the States, putting it under your brand and having it, and then possibly, I don't even know if it was translated or modified or slightly adjusted, but also reintroducing it? Because I'm going to say something, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments section, everybody, but I don't think anybody read this book in the U.S., the French version of it. And so it's only a relaunch into a whole new market under a brand that has a built-in audience. And as a business, that's a blessing in a lot of ways, and also a very cool opportunity for you to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think it did really well, because when it was, because I looked at the French version, they're only on issue 2. They've only released 2 issues, and I think they broke it up like I did. But I don't know how many pages are in each issue in France. But they don't do variant covers. They don't do what Totally Rad does. They don't hire various artists to do covers for the book. They had the artist Mario do some cover work for it, and so when I brought it over to Totally Rad, Mario agreed to do additional artwork on top of other various variant covers and some other surprise things. pro bono, basically. You know, he's getting paid, you know, for the art, for doing the whole book and everything and all that. But he agreed to do other stuff as well, different stuff from the French version, obviously. So like if you go, there's a, I can't remember where, there was a web store that was selling the French editions. It's a French web store. It's all in France. Or I'm sorry, it's in French. And you can actually buy it right now. I don't know what their international rate is, if they even have one, but it is in French, and then the American version, of course, it's in English. And there were some things I had to go through and edit because the artist is from Brazil. He's not from America. So there's some words that he doesn't understand, so I had to help with that. And it's really cool to bring this book to America and, you know, do all these fun things with it.
Yeah, and to even show some stuff, and I'm already demonetized on YouTube, so they can only kick me off. So with what I show, but this is, I think, something in there that's going on with it. And then this is also a page from it. Obviously, there's no words in it yet, but you know, obviously, this book doesn't really pull any punches, and there's some stuff, and I don't really know what's going on with either of what I just showed, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory that something's going on. So obviously, I just wanted to tease that. I'm not going to show it again. I really like being on YouTube. Some people in some Facebook groups don't like me being on YouTube and don't like my YouTube views, but that's their opinion, and that's all it is. But all joking aside, obviously, this book doesn't pull any punches in any way, and what you see on the cover is going to be what you get.
Right.
And
if not more.
Yeah, what were you saying?
If not more.
And even to go into that, because obviously we're talking about variants, and you're a variant-driven company in a lot of ways, as well as a lot of adult-driven company. And so this is, I believe, cover A. And
yes,
something's going on with this, and I think this is the most tame cover, I would like to say.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's a butt shot there, but yeah. There's no boobs on that one. But then you get into that, and then there's boobs, that's actually that's a Star Wars homage cover right there.
Yeah. I figured that much. And then we get into this stuff.
Yeah, the Courtney Rose cover. And then of course we have the Steph Wilson. Once you get to Steph Wilson, it goes off the rails.
On some things he goes off the rails. On some things he goes off the rails. There's plenty of perfectly fine PG Steph Wilson covers. But what is this like for you to be able to, you know, obviously have Mario do 2 covers, and then have Courtney Rose do a cover that definitely goes a little bit, you know, suggestive, and there's a nude cover, and then have Steph Wilson, because when you're on Kickstarter, and obviously I'm a variant guy, so I like picking up variant books. I like picking up obscure covers, fun covers, styles that are not, you know, in the norm of DC Marvel. And so what is this like for you to throw these covers in there and also give that choice? Because that's something that I thoroughly enjoy. And also giving, you know, artists work in a lot of ways.
I think it's a lot of fun, especially when you have the guys that are like, I have to buy every variant cover. And on this Kickstarter, there's over 100. And I exceeded the limits on both the regular pledge tier and the add-on section. So there's one guy that he's getting all the covers, and that's over a $2,000 deal.
So explain that to me. So what is the position on how many tiers you could have on Kickstarter, and when you exceed it, and even the thought process behind that, and putting that entire concept together? Because I don't think anybody's ever done that before.
So Kickstarter has a limit, a system limit that I found out in my last campaign, and then I found out even more during this campaign. So my last campaign that I did, on the add-on section, I had over 100 different add-ons. Now, I didn't have 100 rewards at the time. I was close to 100 rewards, and so I didn't think anything of that. I'm like, I'm sure we're gonna have as many rewards to choose from. So on this one, when we went over 100, that's when I realized, Okay, so the reward system and the add-on system is a strict 100 limited. That's it. So I couldn't carry over the regular rewards into the add-on section because I had some other add-ons that were strictly add-on only options. So to make it easier for everybody, because I don't like limiting things unless like it's specifically like a gold edition or something like that. So like if someone wants to get all of them, I let them get all of it. So like if there's something on the campaign that you've seen, it's not in the add-on section. We put a little note on the bottom too, like anything can be added on. There's no additional shipping charges. It's just whatever the cost of the cover or the bundle is, and we try to make it as easy as possible. It's unfortunate that Kickstarter has these limits, but I'm assuming they have those limits for a reason because I'm sure like if they did 101 rewards, the whole system would crash.
So, and this is I mean, I want to table this because I do want to talk about the Halloween thing, and then we're going to really dive into this because I find this to be fascinating, and this is right up my alley on what I enjoy and how I sort of wanted to build my Kickstarter because I view my Kickstarter very differently, and I think it's a very interesting conversation. But I do want to talk about the Halloween. I promise we're going to get back to this because this is so fascinating. And you have the Halloween book going on with this for the new edition as well.
Yeah.
And so what I like about that actually, and I actually give you, props on it, is that this is my problem with Christmas books, Halloween books, is if you're running a Halloween book in October, I'm not going to get that till January. And last time I checked, January is not in October. But I say this jokingly. Obviously, I just bought a Christmas book from you, and I bought the gold book that was 1 of 5. I don't have a problem with waiting and it being after the fact or it didn't come for Christmas. That doesn't bother me because I'm not going to share that book out on my Instagram till next December. So right. I hope you understand that you have to wait just as I did. But for it, but it's the idea that I was fine with that. That didn't bother me as much. But when I'm getting a Halloween book, I want it in October. And you're at least getting this thing done in January, getting it out to people April, May. And so what is the thought process behind that? Because while you're technically early for Halloween, I'd rather my book be early than late.
So for the Halloween story, that's being drawn by Dejin, who actually did this little cover art right here. She's a Totally Rad cover artist. She's done a lot of work for Totally Rad over the years. And so when I messaged her in like August, September timeframe, and I said, "Hey, do you want to do a Halloween story?" She goes, "I don't have time to do a Halloween story, but I could still do it if you want me to." And I said, "Well, when can you get it done?" And she said, "December, January." I said, "That's fine. We'll make it work." And so, because last year I had done a Kickstarter similar to the one I'm doing now, where the rewards on there were all web store stuff, and a majority of my web store stuff is themed around holidays or specific days of the year. So like last year we had Toast Day, we had May the 4th, we had Valentine's Day, we had Christmas, Halloween, of course, and the Totally Rad 2-year anniversary, which is in June. So I figured, well, we got basically every other holiday on there. So Halloween, new story that's good. It fits the theme of holidays, of eventful days of the year.
Because that's the thing is that obviously making things work, and I would rather you be early than late, and that's how I feel, is that if I'm going to pick up a Halloween book and maybe I'm the odd one out, is I don't have a problem being in April. I'd rather be in April than in November. And
the title of it too, because it's not just Pink 69, it's Totally Rad for the holidays. So and the holidays isn't just Christmas, New Year's, it's everything.
and I mentioned it earlier, is that obviously the Halloween book is dealing with these monsters, and Totally Rad monsters are coming into it, and a variety of other things, and it just further builds out the world in a lot of ways. And I think that's really, really clever because you just wrapped up Totally Rad Monsters and what was going on with that. I know Steph Wilson did a bunch of covers on that one. And so what is that like to just further solidify that universe and bring it really into, the Totally Rad space further? Because that's something that I think people forget, and maybe people who are listening to this and want to push this out into a bunch of groups, and they're hearing it, that's something that I think people need to understand, is that this book is very much canon, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's, we like to have fun, and we like to, I don't like doing Kickstarters where there's only like one book available type thing. So like I like to have various books, and so like whenever I do the next Kickstarter, I like that, so let's say, I did a Violet Kickstarter, and then the next Kickstarter I did is a Kitty Kickstarter, but it's like, well, what about Violet? Violet shows up in those books, in the Kitty books, so it works out. So if you're a Violet fan, and she gets cover appearances as well. There's cover artists that like a lot of my characters, and like to mix and match those characters on covers. So it's fun way to work things in.
No. I know Trish is in the chat, and she said Mike might have taken the computer. So I am curious about that. If Mike has taken the computer, and I would like an answer on that. But that's absolutely fine. If Mike wants to type, or if Trish, you still have the computer, that's totally okay. We're all curious in us reading the chats, both live and on replay here. But as we're waiting for an answer on that, I do want to show off the Halloween covers, because they are pretty fun too. And I think this is one of them. And obviously, we got cover A, which you could show to anybody under 18, and cover A Rad. You can't really show that to anybody under 18. I don't suggest. So, what's the story behind these?
So in the story, the girls are going trick or treating, and obviously Violet is dressed as Freddy Krueger. Trix is a sexy schoolgirl, and my topless cave woman Zira is of course, a space woman, because that makes perfect sense that a cave woman would dress up as a space person.
I mean, it's your world, and I'm not going to question it.
I thought it was clever.
And then obviously, I just want to go through this quick. So obviously, you have this one right here, and that's cover B. And I think.
So that cover is Kitty is actually a puppy for Halloween. So it makes perfect sense that she dresses up as a puppy for Halloween as opposed to a kitty, because she always has the cat ears on. This time she's a dog, and she's got a little tail and everything.
Of course, there would be that. Of course, why wouldn't it be? And then we might as well go this way, because this is how we do things. And again, obviously you get your, kosher, regular, anybody can look at it, and your Totally Rad cover right there. And obviously it's Halloween, and I'm not too sure we need an explanation, but I'm more than happy to have one.
I think it's a really cool cover too, because if you look at the gravestones, there's a Totally Rad gravestone. There's one that has my initials on it, which I didn't even think that the artist who did it, I didn't think that he would put my initials on a gravestone. I didn't notice it at first, and then I was looking at it when I printed it up, and I was like, oh wait, that's me.
And what is that like? Because I love Easter eggs in comics. Obviously I'm probably going to be producing a project sometime this year, and I'm not going to be going deep into a bunch of different, variants, but I might do one or two, and I want a cover that has a bunch of Easter eggs in it, particularly, and I'm going to run it by several people, but I want some, indie Easter eggs in there. And what is that like? Because I think it's fun, because people who know about it, or then look at it and see it, they're like, oh, I get it. And I think that's sort of something that is very cool, both mainstream and in indie.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. And like today, Keith Garvey emailed me a new cover, and he had Easter eggs in the cover, and I didn't realize it when I replied to his email. I said, this looks great cover, once again. And then I looked at it again, and then I noticed all these like small details about it, and I was like, and then I wrote an email right after that. I was like, oh man, this cover is amazing. Like, I just saw all this and that. It's awesome, because like, especially when I don't expect it, it's so cool, because it's like, oh my god. There's so many amazing covers that we backed, all the ones that we like. I would have to take out alone. Yeah, there's a lot of covers. There's a lot of covers.
I think you already answered it, but I think that it's
so technically the one of everything, not counting the tits on the slab cover, is $1,400, and then if you count the tits on the slab cover, it evens out to $2,000.
I don't know how you do it in which that it's you know it's a lot. It's a lot. You know,
That's a
I
lot
have
of
very,
work.
very low bars. You know, my Kickstarter is 750. Yours is clearly all the way up. So obviously this is another cover just for those who are interested. And obviously we got some chainsaw action going here and some fun stuff in there. So I like this one, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory as well, where it's just classic, you know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween-oriented stuff going on.
Yeah, yeah, it's classic.
And then I think that there might be another one in there as well.
Oh yeah,
Cool. And my question about this is that obviously I'm a Pop Funko guy. I like my Chase Pop Funkos.
yeah,
And what's the deal with that? Because obviously that's kind of a cool idea, making a cover a Chase. Because anybody who's a Pop Funko fan knows what I'm referring to. And I haven't seen that concept being thrown out there much in the entire Kickstarter world. So
yeah. Because the artist he did at Foxy Art, he does a lot of covers for me, and every now and then he'll do extra versions of covers, and then sometimes I'm like, well, I just need the nice and the topless version. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this version. So when he did that, I was like, oh, I'll make it special. So like I have it right here. I can't show the front of it, but I'll show you the foil that it's on. It's on a really cool foil. You can kind of see it here when I reflect it, kind of close here. It's kind of like a 3D bubble type thing. You can kind of see.
yeah. And also it's the idea that you're making something a lot more exclusive. And I don't know how many of those you've printed up by any chance, but I think it's the idea that obviously, you know, not everybody who wants it is going to get it.
Right.
And it goes into a whole, you know, valuation and spec. And you know, I'm making an entire YouTube video and series about comic book investing, and that's my bread and butter in a lot of ways. I sell a lot of books and I invest in a lot of books, and I'm planning to move around 20 to 30K of books by June this year. Just on a lot of different sectors.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not a store or anything like that. I'm just a small time, you know, eBayer. But it's the idea that, you know, people in my experience, and I'm curious how you feel about this, is they want exclusive books, they want limited edition books. I primarily deal with limited edition books and 250 print runs, 350 print runs, 100 print runs, and they also want, you know, rare things that are like 50 print runs or foil books, or there's only 5 of them. I mean, I just bought a book from you that there's only 5 of them in the
Yeah.
entire, you know, world at this point, and you're not going to go print another 5 gold books of that book.
Right.
And so what is that like, and what do you feel about that, and even that theory of what people want and what they're willing to spend money on? Because at this stage, the way I feel is that I can go to a comic store and pick up a cover A of almost any book I want, and I can
Right.
find that pretty easily versus, you know, finding that rare variant that only a select few people have.
Yeah. With me, it's like, because, I do. I said doo doo. Uh, so I do a lot of variants, and so like a lot of people are like, well, is it like 250 of each cover? Is it 100, 150? Usually it's like less than 20 of each cover, depending on what cover it is. So I don't. That's why I don't hard number my books, because if I did that, it would just be like 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 in some cases, 1 out of 3. It's like, and it's just such a tedious thing, especially if like, you ship the book out and they're like, well, this is damaged, and then it's like, well, which number did you have? And it's like, well, I had 2 out of 7, and then I got to reprint number 2 out of 7, and then they got to verify that they destroyed that number, and it's just a logistical nightmare. And I'd rather not do numbered books. That's one of the biggest things I'm not a big fan of. I don't like numbered books. I know there's the market for it, but for me, it's just like, unless it's like a retailer exclusive, like I do retailer exclusives, and the retailers are like, well, I want it to be numbered. I'm like, that's fine. You deal with all that, because I don't want to deal with any of it. Or like I'll do APs, but I won't do like AP 11 out of 25 or whatever. I'll just number.
So with Zenoscope, they just have a 350 per month. They say this book only has 350 per month. There's no one of
Yeah.
350. You know,
Right.
it's just 350. So, and that's a very different beast than having like 1 out of 5. So your gold book that you send me doesn't have a number on it, you
Right.
know, and but I know there's only 5 of them. So
Right.
I could have number one, somebody else could have number one, but
Yeah,
collectively,
that's the other thing too with the numbers is like people are always like, if you do a book that has the numbers on it, there's always the guy that wants to buy number two. There's always the guy that wants to buy number three, four, whatever number, and it's like, well, I've already sold the four, and it's like, well, I don't want to buy it because I can't get number four, and it's just like, let's just buy it because the cover's great. Don't buy it because of the number on it.
I only bought it because there was a 25% discount. I would have bought it if it was a little bit higher. So no, because if you think about it, it was 20 and the gold was 40, but with 25 bucks it became 30. So
Yeah.
for me to get a rare book for 10 bucks, it becomes economically and it makes sense to me. And I also had money at the time. So that's the difference with all that. But I digress right there.
There's
Um,
there's one guy that he bought all of one of the golds for one of the covers, and I was just like, oh god damn it! Because I don't limit only one or two per customer on my web store. I'm just like, well, whatever, first come first serve, and the guy bought them all. I'm like, oh well, damn.
but we know where they're going.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Oh, I knew exactly where they were going because I like to creep on myself and I look on eBay, and they were immediately on eBay for like triple the price, and I'm like, all right, well, I saw that coming.
I know exactly how much gold goes for on average. It's an $80 to $90 book, give or
Yeah.
take. It's not that hard to figure it out, but I don't think they're easy sales per se. I don't think they're hard sales. But if I'm to list that gold book up, and I'm very honest, I think it'll take me about 18 months to move it. But I think it will move for my price point. And I'm not saying it's not listed. You can go on my eBay store, Pop Anime Comics Collectibles. It's not up there because I actually like the book right now, and I'm going to keep it for a while at least. At some point, it will be up for sale. I got no problem admitting that, but it's not going to be up for sale for at least 6 to a year, if not longer, because I like the book. I think it's a fun book. I like what she does with a particular item in that cover. But I digress. I will show that cover in a little bit, but let's talk about your Kickstarter and the other side of it, because this is what I really enjoy about your Kickstarter. More than the story, more than anything else, is that this is a gigantic Shopify store, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, it is.
Because you have everything in here, and you have all the holiday books, and you have Toast Day, and I got some of those covers, and I'm about to pull them up, and hopefully I'm going to get them right. So I think this is some Toast Day stuff you got going on. I think Cara Nicole or Nicole Cara, if I forget,
Yeah,
which way it goes. I think Courtney Rose is here, obviously Steph Wilson. And so that's just one book.
Yeah.
And you got this in there, which is, I have all this written down, everybody. So you got the anniversary stuff. I think this is the start of the anniversary stuff, right?
Yeah, this is the start of the anniversary stuff, which is, I think that's the most covers is the anniversary stuff.
And then we got this, and then I think this is still anniversary. And then I picked up the cover J. I'm just letting everybody know I really like that cover. And so I like that cover for a good reason, though, because that cover is pop art-esque. I like Marissa Pope. Marissa Pope's a student of Mike DePaffo, from my understanding.
Yeah.
And I like her style on what she does. And so what is this like with all the covers that I just showed? And I purposely showed them quickly because obviously there's a lot of covers you have. And so what is this like to really give people saying, hey, you could buy this stuff now on the Kickstarter, combined shipping, and also this is all the stuff from the web store, because your web store is pretty big. I mean, it's like literally 30 pages.
What I learned last year and the year before that was that even though I was doing a lot on my web store, sales were doing very well during 2020 and 2021. I learned that the Kickstarter audience sometimes doesn't go outside of Kickstarter. They only want to buy the books if it's on Kickstarter. So to have all these books that I did over the last year that were exclusively on my web store to bring it onto a Kickstarter, it's essentially a whole new audience that they didn't, for whatever reason, they didn't come over to the web store. So now they're seeing it for the first time. They're like, oh, wow, look at this. You got like 10 Marissa Popes. You got 10 Piper Rudiks, 11 you know, Keith Garvey's. They get overwhelmed because there's so much that they missed out on, and they're like, well, why are you putting all this on the Kickstarter? And it's like, well, if you were on my web store, you wouldn't be so overwhelmed because, like, you know, there's some guys, you know, again, they buy every cover, and there's one guy who's literally buying everything from me. I launched the Kickstarter, and there's only essentially maybe 9 new covers that he needs to buy because he's already gotten the other 90.
And so to even go off of this, because this is one of the reasons why I moved on to Kickstarter for my podcast. And I was very, very scared because one of the scariest things is that saying, am I going to fail? Is this project going to fail? And how is that going to affect my audience? How am I going to be perceived? It took me about 18 months to get over that fear. There's no question about that. I got no issue admitting that. But I also realized that, people, when I ask for money saying, hey, buy me a coffee, they're like, I'm not interested. But then the same people who I asked, throw out Kickstarter, I'm in first day, out of nowhere. And so there's also a mentality that they're supporting a project. They're supporting a creator. And there's also a whole thing where you're backing a person. You know, when you're backing my Kickstarter, and I don't know how you feel about it, but, you know, when I'm backing your Kickstarter and I backed your Kickstarter, I'm backing number 16. I'm just saying, you know, it's my 16th birthday today.
You got those 2 free books.
I'm looking forward to those 2 free books. I was very happy. I would have been happy with 1 free book. But that's not the point here. I was hemming and hawing, and I was like, oh, snap, he's giving 2 free books. It's a 50. Oh, no, good. And credit card done. Hey, I like free shit. Well, yeah. I'm not going to pretend here. But one of the things is that, what is that like for you? Because in a lot of ways, they're supporting a small business, and it's also very much social proof with all this stuff. And also, you know, people can go through it and actually see what you have. And then it gets traction, and then it does, you know, 15,000, it does 20,000, 25,000, and all that stuff, because it's not anymore. It's an experience. It's also the idea that you're offering 2 free books, and then you realize that real quick you sold out of those 2 free books, and then you offered 100, and then you threw something else out there. And I don't know if it's still going on, where you bring in somebody and they tell you what backer they are and who brought you in. All of a sudden you're offering more books. So somebody do that so I can get more books, because I want more free books, guys. I completely want more free books.
It's fun to do all those free giveaways, and well, also, like, it's doing Kickstarters is so much fun for me. And to be honest, so when I launched this, I don't really go in of high expectations. Like, you know, I'm coming off of, I've done 3 Kickstarters back to back to back where they've done $30,000, and here I am doing my next Kickstarter, and it's all stuff from the web store. So I was like, if I could get like $10,000 by the end of this campaign, because this is the shortest campaign I've ever done. It's only an 18-day campaign. We only have a week left to go. And I was like, if I could get $10,000 by the end, that'd be great. And then I hit $10,000 the night of launching, and I was just like, well, wasn't expecting that.
I'm so jealous of you. I mean, I'm at 513. I got 22 days left, and I didn't go in with high expectations, and I didn't think I was going to make 350 on it, and I thought I was going to fail. And so my expectations are extremely low, but I'm definitely a little concerned about getting the next 250 bucks. And
you got this.
I'm just getting started. I took the day off collectively. It's my birthday, guys. I'm 16, and you know, I got my permit. I'm just saying. I'm 16, and my friends got me a bottle of Jack. So call the police, and I'll happily surrender. But all jokes aside, like, going into that, even with the low expectation, because again, I didn't get PNK 69 out of the Halloween book. No offense, I don't really care for any of those stories. I was looking at it more on a cover art, and I'm like, man, that Marissa Pope looks dope, because I don't have any covers from Marissa Pope. And every time I see one, it's just always a bad time for me to buy a book.
Oh, yeah.
Always just a bad time. Or there's like a Steph Wilson cover, or there's a Mike DeBaffo, or there's a Brian Peterson that's competing. And this round, while I like Steph Wilson, I'm like, I kind of like this cover more. Nothing against any of those people. I'm not attacking. I want everybody to understand not an attack, but like that's kind of what it was for me, and I don't know if anybody else feels that way.
Yeah, there's and there's a lot of options on there too. I mean, from a lot of artists, a lot of different style of art is on this Kickstarter. So it's like, you got your Keith Garvey people, you got the Steph Wilson people, you got Piper Rudick people, you got Foxy Art, you got Greg Bill Watson, you got M.R. Gunn, you got Jose Maurice. I mean, you have so many people to choose from, and it's like, and some people just like, I just want I want the Foxy Art, or I want the Keith Garvey, or I want Steph Wilson, but I don't want this Steph Wilson, I want that Steph Wilson. And it's like, well, you can have that Steph Wilson.
Yeah, and even to go into further into this as well, because one of the things is that obviously, I picked up the anniversary, and I'm not completely vetted in everything with Totally Rad Comics per se. I'm very new to you as a company. But I also recognize Star Wars. I recognize Mortal Kombat. I recognize, I didn't even know Toast Day was a thing. I apparently learned that. So if there's one thing everybody gets out of this entire interview, Toast Day is a thing apparently. So just saying.
I did a book about a toaster that comes to life and kills people, and people paid me money for it. So
I'm just saying that there's only one thing you get out of this entire interview. It's that Toast Day is a thing. But even going further into that, because I know people who only collect Star Wars books and collect space-themed books and collect homages to Star Wars. And you have, and I hope this is straight up correctly.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I don't know what book were you showing, because that's probably a lot better than what I was.
So this is actually one of the Christmas covers, but she's holding a tauntaun, and over here you can see the snow speeder.
I think I might have that cover later on in the Christmas section of this entire thing. Yeah. So obviously, though, you have a lot of Star Wars stuff, and even that's a driving force in a lot of ways. Where obviously this is all stuff regarding Star Wars. It's stuff doing that. I'm not too sure how I feel about that clown cover, but that's a different discussion for a different day.
Which one? The one where she's popping out of the tauntaun, or the one where she's posing?
I don't really like my Princess Leia looking like a clown. I'm just saying. I call things. I don't mind her popping out in the middle of a snowstorm. That doesn't bother me so much. But Princess Leia posing pretty much naked as a clown doesn't do it for me. I don't really like to see women naked and clowns. It's not my thing, man. I don't know.
Making clowns sexy again.
I mean, if that's how you feel, I'm not going to deny you what drives your life, but I will pass on clown and Princess Leia.
I mean, how can you not love these clowns? Gorgeous, gorgeous clowns by a wonderful artist.
See, I really like the Steph Wilson cover too, and if I had money, I would pick that thing up too. But
I'm actually on that cover. I'm frozen in the carbonite on that cover.
So you don't like what?
So if you look at that cover, my face is in carbonite on that cover, on the Steph Wilson cover.
That's actually super, super dope in that way. But that's a cool cover, and this is what I mean, in which this is a big, and then obviously this is out there, and I know that cover K is a little bit pricey on eBay, and I think it's cheaper on this Kickstarter. I think it's like a $40 cover on eBay.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So I mean, not the nude cover. I didn't see the nude cover on eBay, but I know the cover K is like $40, $35, $40 on eBay, and I know it's cheaper on the Kickstarter in a lot of ways. And then this is also an add-on, and so helmet. And then I'm not too sure if this is Star Wars or we're just going completely.
I mean, look at the knee pads. Those are clearly Boba Fett's knee pads.
Hey, you know what? That's all I'm going to show on that one. And that's a pretty blacked out cover, and that's a cover that's going to get me banned from Facebook and YouTube. This show is going downhill. We're in the third episode of my show this season. Clearly, we're only going to make it that far. The 4 people who have to come on this week are going to thank you for not being able to get on.
It's a gorgeous, gorgeous art piece by Courtney Rose. It's her first Rad to the Max cover. And when I say Rad to the Max, for the safety of the internet and Kickstarter, I don't call my covers XXX covers anymore. I have to call them something special. So Rad to the Max with the X being capitalized makes perfect sense.
Yeah. It's all right. I mean, clearly, this show's just going downhill. It's just going
Because you have the Rad editions, which are usually the topless or fully nude, and then there's Rad to the Max, and yeah, it's fun.
I like how, and I'm going to say something that's slightly sexist. I like how a woman did that cover
Yes,
versus a man. Like,
you'd be surprised about how many women draw Totally Rad covers. It's more women than men.
I'm just saying that it's an observation. There's a lot of women artists who work for Zenoscope as
Yep.
well. So that should give you an idea here. But that's all I'm going to say on the topic for everybody out there. You could clip it. You could use it against me. I will just say I'm guilty, and we will all move on. But then even going beyond Star Wars, and this is what I love, and as I said, this is turning just into a gigantic marketing campaign for you of going through everything that you have on your Kickstarter and then some. We might as well talk about Mortal Kombat, because this is where we're going. Obviously, I think Steph Olson is that cover A. I want to say it looks like his art, right? And then we got cover B. And then we got some of this stuff in there, and then no, that's Christmas. That's Christmas. Okay. I don't want to show Christmas yet. So that's just another entity that's really big right now, and people love Mortal Kombat. And what is that like? Just to say, hey, there are people who just love Mortal Kombat. Obviously, a movie came out about it.
What was funny about that doing that book was that so when I came up with the idea, it was around this time last year, January, because I knew about the movie, and so I was like, well, when's it come out? It comes out, February or March or April or whatever. I think it came out at the time. It came out in March, and they got pushed to April. And so I was like, oh yeah, so I'll just do that, and then I'll do May the 4th after that. And I hit up Marissa Pope, was the first artist that I messaged, and I was like, hey, do you want to do a Mortal Kombat parody cover? And literally that same day, Murat Michaels had asked her for a basically the same type of cover, and she goes, "Well, I would, but Murat just asked me to do this cover." So Murat and I essentially did a Mortal Kombat parody book. We did obviously 2 different books, but we both had the same idea of doing a parody cover book, and like the fact that both me and him were thinking of the same thing at the same time was pretty cool. I was like, oh wow, I didn't see that coming. That's pretty funny that we both had the same idea. We do work with a lot of the same artists. So like if you look at his campaigns, you look at my campaigns, there's a lot of similarities here. Like we hire a lot of the same people.
Yeah, I'm going to be hiring a lot of the same people that I'm going to be going through all of Aspen, Zenoscope, Beat Guy, and I'm legitimately then going to go find everybody else on the internet, and I have a very, very, very interesting list of people who I'm planning to hire in the next 5 years. I'm looking forward to it. I am absolutely looking forward to producing my project, and I know the exact way I'm going to market it. So it's because I like certain artists, Obviously, I think CB Zane did something on this, and everybody's done something on this.
Yeah.
I actually really like CB Zane's work. I like his zany style more than anything else.
Oh yeah, CB's such a great guy. This is actually my number 1 selling cover, which I have somewhere around here, was the CB Zane cover that he did 2 years ago.
Yeah, I know that cover. I like that cover. It's a lovely cover. And now let's talk about Christmas, because obviously I just bought a Christmas book from you. And so obviously the cover A, Rad, and then the cover B, obviously the gold. There is a nude gold. There is a, I guess, safe gold, for lack of a better word. I mean, I don't know how safe that cover B is just by itself without the nudity in it. And that's Mr. Gunn. Yep. For and I'm going to be definitely trying to get an interview with him because I think that could be such an interesting interview because he's done a lot of work for you.
Oh
And
yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
he's done so many covers for me over the last year. And what's funny too is like I found him through Tom Hutchison because he did a cover for Tom a couple years ago, and so I was like, oh okay, so he worked with Tom, so he'll work for me for sure. And so I hired him, and when he did his first cover, when I posted it, it was actually this cover right here, but it wasn't black and white, it was in color.
we're
And
going to talk about that book in a second.
and so he did that, and Tom messaged me. He goes, "Who's that artist?" And I was like, "Oh, it's Sam Gunn." He goes, "Oh yeah, he's worked for me before." And it's like I did not know, man. Like, but yeah, like I talked to him. Actually, I just talked to him this week. He's doing another cover right now, and he also did this. I can't really show the full cover, but he did. There's another cover for the Christmas cover on here that he did. This is the gold edition. Yeah, that cover. Yeah, there we go.
I'm keeping it for a reason for everybody who's wondering why I'm keeping something up for like 4 or 5 seconds. I really don't want to get in trouble on Facebook or YouTube. It is a key component of my business. I'm very honest about it. Where clearly I want to make money doing this, and I am, and so I don't want to get kicked off. And I
Yeah,
think I'm right on the line. And well, I have no recourse if they kick me off. So clearly, but even going further into that black and white book, because I saw the post that you made a little while ago where you threw that in to a lot of people's Kickstarters.
yeah,
And
yeah.
what happened pretty much on the day that a bunch of people got their Kickstarters?
Yeah, like it's a free book. It's a book that everyone earned and deserved, and I sent it out to every backer for the.
I didn't know I earned it, so I'm gonna be the first person that like I legitly just backed your campaign, and I was like,
Yeah,
"Awesome, I'm good, man. I'm good." I
yeah,
didn't even look at your campaign. Like I was the only thing I cared about was when you were shipping out my book. That's all I cared about.
yeah.
Because
I mean, I just I like giving incentives for people to buy the book, and the past few Kickstarters we've given away a free comic book to every backer, and so like when we gave this book away, I every now usually once or twice a week I'll cruise eBay just to see what's happening, what's hot, what books people are flipping, and I saw that one and it sold. This book, this black and white book that I gave away for free, sold for $40, and I was just like, well, don't buy the book on eBay, like, because I feel bad for the guy who, because it could have been I don't know, I don't know who bought it, and I don't know who sold it either, but I feel bad if the guy bought it and backed my Kickstarter and then got the Kickstarter in the same week that he bought that book and then got that book for free. Like I feel bad because I do get those messages from time to time of people who discover my books on eBay, and then they find me on Facebook and they're like, "Oh man, I love all your books. I've bought all this stuff on eBay." And then like out of curiosity, I ask them, "Well, what did you pay for on eBay?" They're like, "Oh, well, I got this book for $80." I'm like, "Why? It's on my web store right now. It's been on my web store for months for $20." Like they don't know about my web store. Like a lot of the books on eBay, like they could just go on my web store anytime and get it for a better deal, unless it's a retailer exclusive, because there are retailers that sell my exclusives for their shop on eBay. That's
so
different. But like when it's like books on my web store.
I'll provide some insight with me and Zenoscope. So what happens is that books do sell out on Zenoscope, and I sell a lot of books. So if I buy a $20 book and then I sell it for 60, somebody will pay me, $60 for a book, or if it's a $50 book, they'll pay me $90 because that book sold out and they want it and they need it and they don't have a problem. I just sold them my Chromebook that I shipped out today. That was 25 that I sold for $85. And you could say, oh man, that's really expensive. I'm a reasonable person. If somebody makes me a reasonable offer on something,
Right.
you know what it is? You want to hear the crazy part? Is there are people asking 110 for it. So at least I'm being reasonable. If
Yeah.
somebody offered me $80 for it, I got no problem taking it. But if you offer me 40, you're out of your mind. The book is the book that came out that's in the same series that he did the year before is going
Yeah.
for 110 on eBay right now. So that
And,
book isn't decreasing in value. It's a 250 print run, and Zenoscope doesn't have them anymore. So you can't buy it
yeah.
directly from Zenoscope. And a lot of what I deal with, you can't buy that stuff directly from Zenoscope, but if you're not shooting Zenescope an email first and saying, hey, do you have it? You know, that's something that you know, you can figure out. And I get that Zenescope's sort of more of a publisher at this point, but I know certain people in Zenescope that if I want a book and they have it in their stores, they'll sell me that book if I want it. And so that's the thing, though, is that I just think people don't want to ask publishers. You know, don't want to ask, you know, I'm going to be producing a book. If I have something in my storage, I'll give you a fair market price for it. You know Larry Higgins, right?
Yeah.
So Larry, basically, he has a bunch of these Niobe books that Paul Green did. Some guy was doing it on eBay. So what did he do? He released a bunch of books to lower the price on eBay that he had in his storage. So obviously it is tricky, though, because when you start entering that phase and, you know, it gets complicated, but it is tricky. And the reason why I bring this up is because I think people need to become aware that there are books that are given, and then that if you're giving out a free book, you might have extra copies of that book. And even if it's not on your website, you don't have a problem, I don't think, selling somebody a book.
Right. Well, I mean, and the only reason why, like, I normally never get mad about people who flip stuff. You know, it's cool to see that, but at the same time, it's like when it was a free book, it's like, come on, man.
Especially right as like the Kickstarter was just being sent out, right?
Right. Yeah.
If you saw that book going for $60 3 years from now, it would be very different.
Right. Yeah. When it's literally something I'm, you know, currently shipping out or has already been like, or just got shipped out, it's like, come on, like he can't like wait, like, and it's funny too because like every now and then, you know, delays happen when you're making books, and sometimes people get upset. And a lot of the times, people who are very like very rude and mean to you, they're not being rude and mean to you because they're upset that they haven't gotten the book yet. They're upset because they want to get that book so they can flip it.
No, I'm just upset and I'm rude because I just want to read the book. No. Let me explain. So I am looking forward, and I'm going to take a little shot at Tom. Well, Tom, I think probably knows this. I'm not interested in selling the Oz stuff. I want to read it in one shot.
Right.
And so I haven't read the first book yet, because I want the second book and I want the third book and I want to sit down for an hour because I want to take it all in at once. So I have a book that now I'm on a 2-year position that I haven't started. If the solution is send me the thing digitally and I will be happy.
Yeah.
Like I don't care about the variant. I want the variant because I like the book. I want to throw it up on Instagram to share on Instagram. My whole thing is that I want to actually read it. So if you send me the book digitally, I'm going to be happy. When people say, I sent out the book and I sent you a digital copy, I'm ecstatic. I'm not rude anymore. Better yet, if you have a delay but the book's done digitally, send me the book and I'll be happy because I really want the story. Right. And I want the variant. I want both things. I want the cake and the icing on the cake. Like seriously, like if you send me a digital copy of PNK69 and I bought PK69, I'd be thrilled. I'd be stoked because I want to read this story. Now I'm going to be very honest. I personally don't care about the story of PNK69. I care about the variant because I just want to look at it. I didn't buy the Marissa Pope book to you know, read the story. I actually like the artwork that she does.
I think, you know, what's really cool about that cover too, that was actually a sketch done on it was the Tom does a Sunday sketch show with a couple artists, and I was one of the guests that weekend, and Marissa did My Cave Woman, and I messaged her. I said, hey, that's a really great sketch. Why don't you scan that so we can make it a cover?
No. My point is that I just know what is good art, and I can't prove it, and I know that in legitly 3-4 years, that book is going to be worth 3 to 4 times what I paid for it on your Kickstarter. Undeniably. I know it. I can't explain why I know it. I just know it's valuable. And this is an endorsement for everybody to go buy that book. It is cover J on the anniversary section. And in 3 or 4 years, you're going to be like, damn, he was right. But I digress because let's talk about my least favorite holiday now. This is actually more and more Christmas stuff.
But yeah, one of those is a New Year cover. Yeah, in Christmas.
Oh, it's Christmas. New Year's, Christmas, they're the same holiday. Except
Yeah.
except if you live in New York City, New Year's this year was great. But that's a different
Wow.
discussion completely. Just no. Before you laugh, let me finish. Just listen to Andy Cohen, and you will understand why.
No, I saw. I watched all that.
He is a true hero. He just called it down the middle, right down the middle. Andy Cohen. I respect Andy Cohen for that. And my favorite line he said is, "I will be here next year too." So much respect to Andy Cohen here. Um, and you know what it is? I think he will be there next year.
Yeah.
We'll have Anderson Cooper 360 and Fun Time with Andy Cohen right after Anderson Cooper because CNN needs it. But that's not a different discussion. I guarantee you their ratings will go up. Just put the two of them together. Oh, it'll be fantastic. But enough about me telling everybody how to fix CNN. I may or may not have a stock interest in that solution. So I do want to talk about my least favorite holiday though. And
All you need is love. Valentine's Day. Look at that, gorgeous. That's not just one, two, three. That's four Piper Rudick covers right there. Boom. Look at that.
yeah,
Piper Rudick did a cover with Kitty Banger on it before the book had even come out. She had done two covers with Kitty Banger on it before the book had even come out.
I am legitimately giving the crash course on what books people can buy right now.
Yeah, I really like that Steph Wilson one where the whipped cream's popping out there right into her eye.
I don't. Yeah. That could be interpreted however people would like to interpret that. And then I don't know. You've been. What's this cover be? That seems to be new to me.
Which one?
The cover B. It seems like it's brand new. It's not like you've been showing it around.
Oh yeah, so yeah, and also this is a you could upgrade your book to be a foil book. This is the foil version of that cover, and look how gorgeous it is. It pops well. It's white. It's got a white toner cover, so the character isn't foil, but the background is, and it makes it pop really well. Like I think it looks great.
I'm broke, so stop tempting me.
And just for $20, you could add on any cover on the Kickstarter. You could make a foil for just $20. It's in the add-on section under $20. Foil cover.
Well, it depends how many comics I sell in the next week. Because technically, my investment strategy with QE ending in March, but that's a different discussion completely. I'm planning to buy Disney for pennies on the dollar. But that's not the point. And then this is my favorite thing that you've done. So what I love about this is that this is just pure brilliance. So before I ask, let me just show what it is, and so everybody understands. Oh, that's not that. It's just these 8.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was 8 or 12. I forgot, but
Yeah, it's 8. There's 8 of them.
So what you've done is that you went pretty much to CBCS. It's through CBCS, and these are all slab books, and pretty much it's like they're trapped in glass.
Yep.
And that's the concept. It's a theory. It is very conceptual. And where did that idea come from? Because this is more of an idea concept than it is a art concept, I feel, because there's been Valiant used to do the CGC covers that they had with several of their characters, where it's a comic book that it looks like it's a CGC comic, but it's obviously a comic book that's not CGC'd, and this is sort of in that vein, I feel.
Yeah, because I've worked at CBCS, obviously for all the years that I worked there, and then I graded a lot of Totally Rad books, and I was getting a lot of 9/9s and 10s, and at the time I was just thinking of ideas for covers, and I was like, man, like tits on the glass, that'd be a great cover, and I was like, yeah, I mean, it would be great, but I think it would be cooler if you could do tits on the slab, and where it's a slab only cover. I mean, you could get it raw if you buy the graded version and then just crack it out. but I mean that it loses the
But
value at that point.
it's the idea that the slab and the CBCS holder then becomes part of the comic. It becomes part
Yeah,
of the art. When
yeah,
we talk about a meta idea, it's the idea that I don't know if you know that there's a famous piano player. What he did is that he opened up his keyboard and then he sat there for 3.5 minutes, didn't touch a key, and then pulled back the keyboard and stood up. And the art was that. The art wasn't him playing. It was a whole different concept of a song. And it broke the concept in a lot of ways. And this is very similar to that, where it's a very meta idea where I have a Saga 1 CBCS. I'm getting a Canto CBCS. Those books, the slab is not part of it. The slab is part of this book.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it
yeah.
changes the value, it changes the entire point of what the book is and the art. I don't know if I'm beating a dead horse here, but I think I have to some degree because this hasn't been done before.
Right. Yeah, it was funny because I was talking to somebody about this idea when I first came up with the idea for it, and the covers were being drawn, they weren't even finished yet. I was talking to somebody, and there was another creator around me when I was talking about it, and I got super nervous because I was like, "What if they steal my idea?" But now it's like, now that because I've done this, now it's like anyone who does this after me, they're just copying me, and that's okay. That's really cool that they're like, "Wow, he did something really cool. Now I want to do that." And it's like, I'll be curious to see if they take it to like a whole new level. Like, what is it? What now? I've done this. Now, what are you gonna do about it? Or what are you gonna do to make it different? Or are they gonna just be like, oh, well, we did that too?
Yeah, and I think it's very very interesting. I think it's very important because obviously I've created original ideas and nobody has stolen my idea yet on a panel where I took something and I've been quoted in college theses and masters like theses and stuff like that with my panel idea, and it's a very cool thing. I don't know what's going on with your finger.
Oh, sorry. There's a notification on my phone that kept popping up. I was trying to turn off.
Oh, I didn't know if I did something. That's why I'm like, oh snap! Did I mess something up here? Like, but anyway, so it's very cool because I think it does push the idea of what a comic is, what it can be, and what you can do with it. And I think that's something that I am the type of guy that likes breaking ideas, breaking barriers, breaking positions, and taking things to a new level. Obviously, I have a project coming out sometime this year, depending on if this Kickstarter does and what's going on, where I want to break a concept. And some people know it, and I don't want to disclose too much about it, but I think if I do it, it's going to open up a floodgate for more ideas to come out that are definitely more in a meta play. So
Yeah.
I personally think it's awesome, and I would buy it if I had money. And my mom wouldn't kill me. My dad would congratulate me, and my mom would kill me. So there you go on that point. But I think it is something very interesting because it sets you very much apart on a lot of stuff. And then obviously we spoke about. I'm trying to figure out what other things I got here. I think this stuff obviously
Right.
Mr. Gunn and the black and white. Got some of this stuff, more Mr. Gunn stuff going on. Garvey, Keith Garvey, first interview. He's coming back on in February. Super
That's
stoked
awesome.
for him.
Yeah.
I was his first interview ever. So I am in the club, guys. And if you don't believe me, it's on my other show, Pop Anime Comics Lounge. Go check it out. Super cool interview. And we went old school Garvey, like the stuff that he did for like this like weird like French Spanish magazine.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he also did stuff for I think he did something for Buttman Comics.
I don't. I think so too, but like all like the suggestive,
Yeah.
like Dean Yangle territory with Mandy, like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, he actually this cover I keep showing, he did this cover.
Who did that cover?
That's Keith Garvey. This is Keith Garvey cover.
You should get Dean Yangle on a cover.
It's funny. I had reached out to him like when I first started, but I never heard anything back at the time. And then last year Ryan Kincaid did a cover with them, and I saw Ryan at a show. I think it was a Florida show that we did, and I was like, "Hey man, how did you get Dean Yeagle to do a cover for you?" And he was just like, "Oh man, I just asked him." And I was like, "That's it?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like,
That's what
"Well,
I
shit."
did. That's all I got to need to do. I just asked and I'm like, oh, this guy's never going to say yes to me. Like, who would say yes to me? I'm not
Yeah,
anything. I'm like, I really like your only Zenoscope cover that you've done. Like, for Blue Griffin, I really like that cover, and I think it's playful. And then I also enjoy Mandy, and why wouldn't I want to talk about the Honey Nut Cheerio bee? So, I mean, and then like I had an hour and a half conversation, and it was great. It was wonderful because when else am I going to speak to somebody who has done legitimately so much, and it legitimately is his legacy will far exceed his life, if that makes any sense, in the nicest way possible. I can say that because the
yeah,
Honey Nut Cheerio bee is on a NASCAR car. So I don't know about anybody else, but there's no other comic person who has their design on a NASCAR car. Just saying. I'm just saying that it's kind of a hard argument to fight that one. When Keith Garvey gets a mascot on a NASCAR car, nothing against Keith, but that's all I'm going to say. But you ask him because I think he'll do it at this
yeah,
point.
yeah.
And then this thing right here is totally appropriate as well.
Summertime, yeah. So that artist Dexina, she did that summer cover, and she gave that to me in like September, and I was like, "Summertime's over, but I'll figure something out." And this Kickstarter came, and I was like, "All right, I'll put it on this Kickstarter," because I there's so many covers that I have that I've never um put on my web store, or sometimes I haven't even put out for sale, and I'm just like, "Well, I'm just sitting on all this art. I guess I'll just put it out
So
now."
let me ask you a question about this because I buy comics all year round.
Yeah,
So I don't have a problem buying an Easter cover for a comic in September because if I'm interested as an investor, and I don't know if you know the primary breakdown of your audience, but obviously I'm interested in making money in comics, and I have a whole system, and the breakdown basically is that I have a 3 month, 6 month, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10-year plays, 20-year plus play. So if I'm buying a book and I'm going to hold on to it for 5 years, it doesn't matter when I buy it, what time of the year, if that's the plan. So to go back to the Golden Christmas book, which is, as soon as I find it, this cover B in a golden position, it doesn't
yeah,
matter if I buy it in, 2 days before Christmas. If my goal is to hold on to it for 5 years, it doesn't matter. And so, and also, if people haven't seen a book, I think they're also similar because I don't know how many people really care if they see a cover like this and it's snowing out or if summer's over. If they like the cover, they're like, this is awesome. You know, that to me almost just is like, this is cool. Or summer is 5 months away. Why does it matter if I buy it? And so that's how I view it. And that's why I find this entire Kickstarter fascinating because, well, Valentine's Day is not that far off right now. And then conversely, Christmas just happened, but Christmas is what, 50 weeks away?
yeah.
Only 50 weeks away, guys. And New Year's is 51 weeks away. So, yeah. But
Right.
I think the point is that if people are interested in making money, I don't think it matters. And I think it's just an opportunity to buy whatever they want. So I'm curious how you feel about that because if people make money with your books and they go up in value,
Right.
that means they're going to want to continue to buy from you.
Yeah.
And that's why I buy from Zenoscope because their books go up in value and I make money from it. And, I've made a lot of money from this stuff. I just sold my Chromebook for $85. That cost me $25. Like, that's a lot of money on a single book
Yeah.
with a whole time of 6 weeks. So, I mean, if it took me 3 years to sell that book is not attractive. But in 6 weeks, I went from a 25 position to an 85.
Right.
So curious how you feel about all this and even just how it factors in to building out what you're doing in this entire Kickstarter because There's a lot of fucking money being made. I'm pissed.
Yeah, there
I'm
is.
not
Yeah.
making any money like this.
Yeah, I mean, and most of the, like again, like 90% of the stuff on this Kickstarter, I've already made my money back on. So whatever sells on this, it's just gravy. And for the most part, I mean, and after this Kickstarter too, like some of this stuff will still be on the web store, but a majority of it just goes away. A lot of the Rad Combat stuff, the Rad Wars stuff, that won't go up for sale again. The Rad Wars, some of it may, but because there's so many covers, it's like I only, I pick and choose which ones go back up for sale. Like, because we do that was Rad Wars 2. We did Rad Wars 1 the year before. We're doing Rad Wars 3 this year, so it's like we'll do a bundle deal, because I'm sure we'll bring Steph Wilson back, we'll bring CB Zane back, and they did it. They did covers for 1 and 2, so now they're going to do covers for 3. So we get the bundle deal.
So to even talk about this is actually super fascinating. I think this is very important. Is that let's say that you have 50 copies and you sell 40. What happens if you quote unquote retire a book at that point and you just have 10 of them left? Does it just go into your archives for like 10 years and then you bring it back, or is it just
If someone messages me and says, "Hey, do you have this book?" and I'm like, "Yeah, it's this much," and they go, "Okay, send me an invoice," I'm like, "Here you go."
so it becomes very much, hey, I'm looking for X book, and then that's how it goes, and then you slowly just get rid of it
Yeah,
that way.
yeah, for the most part, and like I get the whole archive thing, but at the same time, it's like if I really wanted to, keep copies of all my books, like I could just print them up anytime. I have all the files to everything, and my printer will, I can make APs up for myself. But then again, then people find out I have APs, and that becomes a whole thing. And then there's a whole like I want to buy the APs only, and it's like oh my god. So there's nothing really personal that I own of my own stuff.
No. The reason why I asked this is because obviously I am most likely going to be entering that with a particular reward on my Kickstarter. And I'm going to throw a bunch of stuff up on eBay, but I'm probably going to just harbor 30 of them. And at some point, with it's a metal card, you know, I'm going to be maybe releasing some of them on some Kickstarters in the future and in the long term game. But like, it's going to become very much, maybe 5 of them come out every year. At that point, I'm all out. And then
Yeah,
at that point, it's out of my hands. And because then I'm going to be like, hey, if you want this cool card, you can't get it anymore. And it's already super limited to 121. So
right.
that's kind of where I'm going. And, that's my goal. So it's very interesting with that. So, that's something that is fascinating. So I was just curious on that front.
Yeah, yeah,
So obviously a lot of stuff's going on. So, pretty much just went through your entire catalog, what you're selling.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so obviously you're almost at 20,000. And, what is that like that your expectation was only 10?
It's exciting. It's like okay, well, I mean, and it sets up. Everything gets reinvested into my next Kickstarter. So, um, it's more opportunities for different artists, more opportunities for new covers, and all sorts of other fun jazz throughout the year. So it kind of sets me up for 2022 as well. So it's like if we do really well at the beginning of the year, then it's gonna, I mean, it's a great way to start off the year. It's gonna lead into bigger and better things, and the wheels start turning for the next, Kickstarter, which will probably be in March. And yeah, it's just exciting, fun excitement.
And also one of the things, and I just heard this, and I got somewhat criticism for it. Not criticism, but pushback a little bit, is that January is a bad month to launch a Kickstarter in. And
Everyone's launching a Kickstarter this month.
and so I mean, I'm at 67% on my Kickstarter, which never ran a Kickstarter before. Don't really know what I'm doing per se. Um, and so that's something that obviously I am very, very excited for, and I'm doing okay. And you're clearly at like 4,000 or like 40,000%. So,
When we hit 20,000, I'll be at 4,000%.
and so what is that like? And my dog barking. Opie. I don't bother you when you're on the speaking with your friends. So obviously, it's just letting her just bark out and go to bed, everybody. She runs the house and we just get to live in it. It's how it works.
Yeah.
So obviously, going into this, and I do want to back out because I just went through your entire campaign, and obviously you're killing dragons here and you're slaying them all. But I am curious about COVID and also all sorts of stuff. And obviously, I don't know. I think you're in Arizona, right?
Yeah, I'm in Arizona.
So I don't know what it's been like as far as cons out in Arizona and what the entire COVID scene looks like. And as far as you going, I know that you were supposed to go to Baltimore. That didn't exactly happen.
No, I
And
went to Baltimore.
other stuff. And so what's going on with you and being at cons or not being at cons and that sort of stuff? Because it's been a crazy 2 years in the comic world.
Yeah, last year I did Baltimore, I did MegaCon, I did Suncoast Comic Con, I did a Monroe Pop Fest, which was in Michigan. COVID sucks, and it's really ruined shows. If you're going, if your way of income was conventions, you're not going to make the money that you wanted to make. And luckily, I started at a time where I was in Texas when I started my company. I couldn't get into shows because of the adult content. So my financial income wasn't based on conventions. So for me, cons are just like a fun trip to see my friends kind of thing. I don't have to worry or get nervous on making money.
So even to talk about that, because this is something that I'm very curious about, is that obviously I am very much in the entire, digital pivot 2.0. And
Yeah.
I really believe that having a bigger digital footprint, having more content online, having better content online, and in 2020 I sort of proved the concept. 2021 I was laying out infrastructure. I got sponsorships, and I'm now running a Kickstarter because I see the writing on the wall. And so for me, I've obviously made a huge pivot where my business is completely digital. I tried doing panels at cons, tried getting guest spots at cons, and none of that worked for me on my end. And now I'm making money for the first time ever, and I'm actually cash positive in what I'm doing. And I'm making more money selling books on eBay and a variety of other things. And so I am a big proponent of going the digital way and not ever being at a con. Because if I use a comic book, why the hell do I want to sell to the 20,000 people at a convention when I could sell to 350 million people in the United States?
Right. And with the way conventions are now, there's a lot of people who don't want to go out because of COVID. Still, it's still rampant, it's still going on. And so people are much more safer at homes, and they much rather, like, I'll give you an example here. Every show that I did last year, every convention, either the week of or the week after or during the show, I did a live show. I made more money on those live shows than I was making at the cons that I was at. So that showed me, where the real audience was at. And, even no matter how hard you push, when you're wearing a mask, it's hard to read people's expressions on their face. You don't know if they're interested or not. And so this year, with cons, it's just like, I'm going to the cons that I want to go to. That isn't, it's just for fun. It's not I need to go here to network type thing. No matter where I go, I always network. But at the same time, it's like I don't have to stress about.
That's the whole thing for me, is that maybe, it's me personally. I have a hard time physically moving around right now. And one of the things that I figured out is that obviously my networking online cannot be the same as in person. But at the same time, I mean, my network has gone up by at least 2,000% in the last 2 years of people I know. So I figured out to some degree how to network on the internet, and I know a bunch of people. So I think it can be done. And obviously, I go to a bunch of Eventbrites and a variety of other things outside of comics. And so I figured out as a way, and maybe I'm the unique one in the group, and maybe I'm the outlier, but I figured out how to network. And maybe it's because I started read the writing on the wall, and March 2020, nobody was doing anything close to this, and it took everybody till July and August to catch up, and so I had a lot of leeway to do that. So, and look, I'm not saying it's perfect. It cannot be the same effectiveness if you have a table next to a big publisher. It just can't be, but it's still pretty effective given that I have not produced a comic and I have access to a variety of people who have done some amazing things. So that's all I'm going to say on that. And obviously, I'm curious, and I think we touched on it, but where do you even think the future of comics are going with everything that's going on? Because it's clear that things are about to change dramatically.
I think I think this year, I think we're gonna hit like another dip, creative wise, and not just creative wise, but production wise. I think there's going to be less books being manufactured just because of the paper shortage and toner shortages that are happening right now. Which, it's just because the collector's market has gone up thousands and thousands of percentage just because everyone's at home, and like I'll give you CBCS and comic book grading and card grading. The card grading turnaround time is 2 years because everyone's at home collecting stuff. So the demand for printing books, a lot of companies weren't prepared for that, and a lot of companies are still working at a limited capacity because of COVID. I think there's going to be a lot of delays still in books. I mean, we're looking at books that used to come out, monthly or bi-monthly that are now coming out once every 3 or 4 months because they can't distribute like they used to. And, you got companies like Diamond that used to be the one end-all be-all in distribution, and now they literally do only the quote-unquote indie publishers. The Marvel and DC are gone. They're not even, working with Diamond anymore. It's crazy. But yeah, as far as this year goes, I think there's going to be a dip in, I mean, I'm sure people are still going to be creating and stuff, but I think production-wise, there's going to be a long break for some people.
Yeah, I also think that there's going to be a drop in expenditure where I think the higher pledge tiers are actually going to drop off because all the free money is going to get out of the U.S. economy. Obviously the Fed has announced that they are basically selling off their assets and raising interest rates at the exact same time. And it's creating a bigger problem. And I think money's going to get a lot tighter when bread costs 15% more and beef costs 24% more. That means you have less money for comics. And there's a reason why, and not to give financial advice, but I'm selling a lot of books right now and then moving it into legitly cash positions, because I think there's going to be a bunch of books for sale for half of what they're worth, if not 60% what they're worth. And I think there's going to be a big opportunity that if you were looking at $100 book, you might get it for $60 or $50 because people are going to need the money. So not saying that this thing's going to fall apart. And I get flack for this. And I've been warning about it for a while, and I thought it was going to happen in 2021. And I think it's about to happen now, and I think there's going to be pain. That doesn't mean don't buy books, don't hold on to your books.
Right.
There's people who are over leveraged, and it's going to get really, really interesting what happens at that point. So obviously, I am expecting something. I mean, the QE drops in March, and not to be mean to anybody, but if you don't know what quantitative easing is and all that stuff, there's a lot of websites that could give you a lot of information about it, and there's a lot of good YouTube channels that break it down very, very simply. But there's going to be a lot of pain coming in the United States for the next year to a year and a half. So, but I don't want to go into all that. I just want to give everybody a fair warning on what I think. Now, I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, but that's what I'm seeing on the wall. But I digress.
My phone's at 2%, by the way, so I think I might have to.
I'm going to give you a chance to promote yourself. Where can people find you quickly?
So you find me on Facebook, Instagram, Totally Rad Comics, Jimmy Noble on Facebook. I'm easy to talk to, just like my characters. I'm easy. If you see anything you like, just let me know. You can find me on Kickstarter, the Totally Rad for the Holidays, Pink 69. currently at $19,221, over 185 backers, which is really awesome. 185 people, and we're at almost 20,000. And to put things in perspective, I saw a Kickstarter the other day that had the same amount of backers, and they're only at 5,000. So I'm very thankful.
So obviously, go back to Kickstarter. I back the Kickstarter. If you back the Kickstarter, just say, hey, I referred you so I can get my free books.
Yeah, I get free book.
I really want some free books beyond the 2 free books that I'm already getting. I am back number 16, and I want more free books. And you should just give me a free book for this. Is really what you should do. But but I digress right there. Obviously, I can promote myself here. Obviously, check out my Kickstarter. You want to guest on my show? You want a postcard, metal cards? I do live reads. You want to take my comic book investing class and sit down with me for an hour or learn how to podcast? More than happy to do that. I got a bunch of rewards from $6 all the way up to $500, and obviously that's kind of what I'm all about. And obviously, Jim Noble's phone just died, so I'm just going to end it up right here, everybody. Obviously, check out everything I'm doing. Support Mixum, back my sponsor. Use my code BCW Supplies at checkout. Pop Anime Comics, 10% off your order. And obviously, I can't stress it enough. Actually, go back Jim Noble's campaign. It is Totally Rad Holiday Special, PNK 69. If you just type in Jim E. Noble or Jim Noble on Kickstarter, it'll pop up. And I appreciate everybody watching. And I got 4 more this week. I got Declan Grant tomorrow, Sam Quinnen. I have Larry Welts on, and then I have a cosplayer on Friday night, and I will catch everybody there. Today is my birthday. I have about an hour and 12 minutes left of it, and so I'm going to go check out everybody. Have a good one, and I will see you all tomorrow.